Are you sure the oil in your Honda is actually right for it? Some of the most common oils drivers use every day quietly steal power, timing, and engine life from modern Hondas. So today, let's break down the engine oils you should stop using before they start costing you more than just a service bill. Number 6. Conventional or non-synthetic oil. Modern Honda engines are not old-school machines. They run hot, tight, and fast. Turbo Civics and Accords push oil past 250 degrees Fahrenheit under load, and that oil has to move through tiny VTEC and timing passages thinner than a grain of rice. But there's also a problem. Conventional oil was designed for slower, cooler engines. In new Hondas, heat breaks it down quickly. It can't stay thick, it can't clean well, and once that protection fades, metal stops floating on oil and starts touching metal. Nothing explodes right away, and the engine still runs. But friction quietly replaces lubrication, and damage begins stacking every mile. So when oil stops protecting, where does the damage actually start? And why does power disappear before any warning light shows up? As heat beats on conventional oil, it shears and thins. The microscopic cushion between parts collapses. That turns into varnish and sludge that coats the variable valve timing screens. Those screens feed oil to the VTEC actuator, the part that decides when valves open and close. When they clog even a little, oil pressure drops. Timing can't advance on command, but what does that actually feel like? Let's just say the throttle gets lazy, acceleration feels flat, and RPM climbs but power doesn't follow. Then the ECU starts fighting back. It throws codes like P0011 because cam timing is no longer where Honda expects it to be. This is why the engine feels tired even though nothing broke. And conventional oil keeps making it worse. It oxidizes faster, traps heat poorly, and leaves more deposits behind. Forget about cleaning, it just starts painting the inside of the engine with sludge. Still, that's only half the story. Because when this weak oil gets cooked inside a turbo that depends on oil for cooling, it becomes more problematic. Turbo Hondas use oil as both lubricant and coolant. The oil feeds the turbo through a tiny line that sees extreme heat. Conventional oil can't absorb that heat like synthetic can, so carbon bakes inside the passage. Once that line starts closing, oil flow drops, and a small blockage can turn into oil starvation fast. However, the fix isn't fancy. Just use full synthetic and change it earlier if you drive short trips. Synthetic stays stable and cleaner and keeps timing parts, turbos, and chains floating instead of grinding. Now, saving a few dollars on conventional oil feels smart today. Number 5. High-viscosity oils. 10W40, 15W40, 20W50. From the start, modern Honda engines are built around thin, fast oil, not thick syrup. Since oil has to rush through tiny passages to reach chains, cams, and valve parts in seconds, Honda designs that flow around 0W20 and 5W30, not heavy truck oil. High-viscosity oils like 10W40, 15W40, and 20W50 move slower, especially when cold. That means the top of the engine waits for pressure while metal parts already start moving. So for a short moment, the engine runs dry before protection arrives. It doesn't sound scary, but when that delay repeats every morning, wear starts stacking, quietly. But what exactly goes wrong inside the engine during that delay? And why does timing suffer before anything actually breaks? It's pretty simple because Honda's VTEC system uses oil pressure to control valve timing. This process has to happen fast. With thin oil, pressure builds almost instantly, and with thick oil, pressure lags behind. And during that gap, the chain moves without full tension, slipping just a little each time. After hundreds of starts, cam timing drifts and power stops matching the RPM. Eventually, the ECU notices the cams aren't where they should be and throws timing codes. What began as just oil becomes real mechanical wear written into the engine. Thick oil also struggles to reach small passages fast. So while the crank is spinning, the top end is still waiting for protection. But honestly, cold mornings aren't the only enemy. The hot summer is too. When the engine is hot, heavy oil creates drag. It forces parts to push against the oil film. That friction makes extra heat. Over time, pistons start to scuff, and it feels tired long before anything flashes on the dash. And the only thing you could do is follow the oil cap in the manual. Most Hondas want 0W20, sometimes 5W30. These oils move fast when cold and stay stable when hot. Thick oil feels strong, but in a Honda, it slowly steals timing, power, and engine life. Number 4. Oils without an API starburst or ILSACGF6. Not all oil is tested the same. Some bottles look fine, pour fine, and even smell fine, but skip the most important part. Certification. If a bottle doesn't show the API starburst and ILSACGF6, it means the oil never passed the wear, heat, and cleanliness tests engines depend on. Basically, uncertified oil is mostly marketing, while certified oil comes with benefits. So what's the real difference between them, and where does protection disappear first? But before I show you, take 1 second to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss what your Honda actually needs. Alright, now back to what actually fails inside. The difference isn't hard to see once you know what to look for. Uncertified oil is blended to run, not to protect under load. Its chemistry fades early, making the parts stop riding smoothly and start skating on a weaker layer. The engine works harder to make the same output because the oil can't hold pressure and heat the same way anymore. On the other hand, certified oil is built differently. API starburst and ILSACGF6 mean the formula survived real stress, cleanliness, and heat control testing. It keeps its structure when temperatures rise, keeps contaminants suspended, and keeps internal movement consistent, not slippery. That's why oils like Mobil 1, Pennzoil Platinum, Castrol Edge, and Valvoline Advanced carry those approvals. They're designed to stay stable when the engine is asking for more, not less. It's just all about the label. Number 3. Store brand economy oils without clear specs. At the gas station, 2 oil jugs sit side by side. One costs $18, the other costs $32. The cheaper one says, suitable for all cars. But of course, cheapness hides something important. Its API rating, ILSAC symbol, and real specs. However, cheap oil doesn't fail loudly, it fades chemically. Economy oils lose their anti-wear additives early. The engine needs strong additives, especially zinc and phosphorus, to keep metal from touching metal. And cheap blends often lose that protection early. Now, if economy oil slowly loses its grip instead of breaking, where does that lost protection show up first? And what part of the engine pays for it before the driver ever notices? The change appears in how the engine controls movement. Systems request adjustment, but the oil film can't support that motion the same way anymore. The energy gets absorbed by friction losses. As additive strength fades, oil no longer maintains a stable boundary layer on high-load parts. And economy oil has a second problem. It's cleaning. The reason is that weaker dispersants allow fuel vapor, soot, and oxidation byproducts to join together rather than staying suspended. Those clusters move through ventilation and oil paths, reducing flow consistency. The pressure control becomes uneven, heat lingers longer, and motion stops feeling smooth even at normal driving load. APISP and ILSACGF6A oils. Oils are tested to keep additives alive, control deposits, and stabilize oil films under stress, never letting the protection fade early. In the end, cheap oil only looks good on the shelf, not in your engine. Number 2. Oils without LSPI protection. Turbo engines. Turbo Honda engines work differently than normal ones. They push extra air into the cylinders, and that extra pressure makes oil chemistry matter more than most drivers realize. LSPI stands for low-speed pre-ignition. It happens when fuel ignites too early before the spark plug fires. The piston gets slammed by pressure it isn't ready for. And the issue starts with oil. Some oils use additive packages that raise LSPI risk. When boost builds at low engine speed, that chemistry can help trigger fuel pockets to ignite early. Even if the engine feels normal, the burn is no longer fully controlled. If LSPI is strong enough to scar a piston, what does it do to the turbo that feeds the engine every second? Well, when a turbo builds boost at low engine speed, cylinder pressure rises before airflow stabilizes. Without proper LSPI control, fuel can ignite before the spark, and pressure rises too fast. Those spikes overload the piston crown and ring pack. At this point, power loss isn't dramatic. Efficiency just keeps slipping because part of the burn is no longer doing useful work. The same shock travels through the oil film feeding the turbocharger. The oil experiences rapid pressure changes that create cavitation, microscopic vapor bubbles that collapse against the bearing surface. Each collapse removes a little of the oil film's stability. As clearances increase, oil flow becomes less consistent. The heat stays trapped longer in the center housing, shaft motion loses precision, and boost no longer arrives cleanly because the turbo is fighting heat and losing lubrication. APISP and SN Plus oils manage additive chemistry that's known to reduce pre-ignition events in turbo engines. With the right formulation, combustion stays timed, ring seal stays stable, and the turbo rides on oil, not on impact. LSPI doesn't explode engines, it quietly converts boost into mechanical stress. Number 1. Used or re-refined oil of unknown origin. The biggest mistake isn't always expensive, it's familiar. Re-refined or mystery oil with no clear origin. Sometimes the bottle carries a random name you've never heard before, the kind you see online or in small shops, not in manuals. It doesn't hold a history, just a promise. And that promise in filtration is never perfect. However, before oil ever fails, something smaller starts the damage, something you never notice in the bottle. If filtration and quality are weak, tiny silica dust and metal particles can remain suspended in the oil. Honda cylinders use a microscopic crosshatch pattern. When contaminated oil moves across that surface, the oil film breaks down and abrasion begins. So where do you think the engine feels at first? It starts in the timing system, where the chain should be floating, but ends up dragging through oil that can't protect it anymore. The guides thin out, links lose their smooth face, and every rotation takes a little metal with it. What people feel first is a strange vibration and a lazy response when they press the pedal, because timing no longer holds steady. So if that dirt is working on chains and bearings, what do you think it's doing to the rings that seal the cylinders? Every stroke pushes contaminated oil across the ring edges, and particles slowly widen the seal. Pressure slips past the piston instead of driving it. Blow-by rises, deposits collect on the plugs, and output fades. The engine has to work harder just to deliver normal movement. Oil origin affects particle control, and particle control protects geometry, which is why clean, certified oil preserves surfaces instead of reshaping them. Re-refined mystery oil may look fine in the bottle, but once it circulates through the engine, the difference becomes impossible to hide. So, have you ever used one of these oils in your Honda without realizing the damage? And after watching this, would you actually switch what you pour into your engine? Drop your answer in the comments.